Hi, I'm Ted Wolf, presented by GuideWise. Welcome to the Implementors podcast, where we connect you to the stories and insights of people who have mastered implementation. Why? Because ideas are easy, but implementation is hard. Join us as we uncover the secrets of successful implementation so you can conquer your implementation struggles. Welcome to the Implementors podcast presented by GuideWise, where we focus on the topic of implementation because ideas are easy, but implementation is hard. Today, we're joined by Ilke Demir, a senior staff research scientist at Intel Corporation. Ilke is an expert in artificial intelligence, spatial computing, and generative AI. She's also the inventor of FakeCatcher. In this episode, we'll discuss how businesses can strategically adopt generative AI and modern tools today. Welcome, Ilke.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for the invitation, and it's really a pleasure to be on this podcast.
Well, we have an awful lot to talk about because you've got an interesting background and a lot of information I think that we could help our listeners with. Let's start out with AI. It's the topic everybody's talking about. We all know there's two sides to a coin. So could you tell us a little bit about the dark side of AI and the bright side of AI?
Absolutely. So, the advancements in AI has been exponential, at least nowadays, and people tend to focus on the dystopian futures, like, oh, they will invade, they will be in the White House, they are coming, and the more there is that fear, the more the responsible AI approaches, the bright side of the AI for good approaches, etc., are a little bit under the shadow, and it should be otherwise, right? Like if there's more fear, there should be more funding and more resources and more emphasis on the bright side of the AI. So I think I witnessed this the first hand in one of my keynotes. It was in MIT MTech, and my talk was one or two talks after Hinton's talk, and that was one of the first speeches that he gave after leaving Google, and that was like, they are coming kind of speech, So even though I was talking about all these responsible AI approaches, all these like good AI approaches, all the questions I got from the audience was about like, oh, like, can they make bio weapons? Can they make this? And I'm like, no, like, following my talk, like, oh, everything is actually really good, and like, we can actually combat AI with AI. We can build all these responsible AI approaches to bring the best of humans, bring the best of AI, bring the best of like current automated systems, etc. So maybe it's good to like think both sides of the coin, and also emphasize and fund both sides of the coin equally.
Mm-hmm. So we all know the dark side, I'll say, of AI. We're worried about people stealing our information, our identity. I mean, that's going on all the time. They'll be able to make chemical weapons easier, quote unquote. Tell us about the bright side. What are some of the good things that you see businesses can do with AI for individuals?
Absolutely. So we have developed many approaches around that, and like there's the regular response of like, yeah, AI helps with content creation, AI helps with like information gathering, summarization, etc. I want to make it a little bit more specific to how we can use seemingly neutral or seemingly negative approaches for positive. For example, one thing that we did in that space is called My Face, My Choice. So, like we are everywhere, like our images, our videos, our content is everywhere digitally. And sometimes we don't want to be there. Like if your favorite cousin is putting a photo of you to a social media platform, but you don't want to be in it, what do? Your tag is there, even if you untag yourself, your face is there, everyone can see you. So we wanted to actually approach this with deepfakes. Can we have deepfakes for good in the sense that I'm not turning you into Brad Pitt? Maybe that's good or bad, I don't know. I'm not turning you into...
My wife would appreciate that.
And a celebrity, but we can actually take your image that you don't want to be in and find the most dissimilar face to your face in a face manifold, and then deepfake that like face swap your face to that face with preserving the emotion, preserving the gesture, preserving the gaze. If you have like tongue out, I don't know, like having that expression, etc. But your identity will not be there. So you are not in that photo anymore. And for a person that is looking at that photo for the first time, they have no way of knowing that it was edited. It was like you were removed from there, as opposed to like being pixelated or blurred or masked out, or like people are putting emojis on top of faces and stuff. As opposed to those approaches, we can actually use deepfakes for good. And in that case, the face that we are swapping with is from a synthetic database, so it's not even an existing person that we are swapping. So that's just one example about how we can actually use AI to protect your content. We have other approaches like my art, my choice, my voice, my choice. So basically how we can protect things that belong to you with AI. And that's like a good collection of like adversarial approaches that we work on.
Okay, well, I would love you to overlay Brad Pitt on me. I don't know what Brad Pitt would think about that, though. But what could you just explain what is a deepfake?
So deepfakes are these multimodal content. It can be image, video, audio, even 3D version of you, where the actor or the action of the actor is not real. So it doesn't exist. It may still be you, but the things that you haven't done, you haven't said, or it's not even you, it's Brad Pitt on top of your video, etc. That is not there. And these deepfakes are emerged as a like easier content creation method, or like for entertainment and media, etc. But also for AR, VR, for avatars and stuff. But of course, it has been used for like misinformation, for political manipulation, for adult content, for all these frauds and scams, etc. So even though the actual research came from a really like futuristic, good research direction, it has been used as for manipulative consequences.
Is there a particular reason why they use the word deep in deep fake?
Yeah, of course. So let's say Photoshop has been there for forever, and in Photoshop you can do all the edits. You can maybe change the eyes, change the face, cut, paste, whatever you want. But those edits are not deep. So the deepness in deepfakes came from the actual technical details underlying, which is deep neural networks, right? So the very first ones that are using these like encoder decoder architectures to do basic face swap are deep architectures. So the fakes are no longer shallow fakes, as you just like cut, paste, copy, paste, or splice for audio, but they are actually created with these like more complicated, elaborate neural networks.
So in other words, they're just deeper in convincing you that
that's also true.
We're talking to Brad Pitt here with Ted Wolf's face. That's all. Let's talk a little bit about FakeCatcher or FakeCatcher. It's an idea that you had, you bring in it to reality. Tell us what that is and what it does and the importance of that.
Yeah. So FakeCatcher is one of the first approaches that we developed for catching fakes, basically, catching deep fakes. And so maybe a little bit background about what I do, right? So I'm an AI scientist, and my background has always been generative models. So I have been looking at like for the past 15 years, maybe before generative models were cool. I have been looking at how we can find priors in data. How can we find different representations of data? How can we trust some signals in data so that we can actually create new versions of that data, etc. Anyway, so based on that, when deepfakes were first emerging, and they were not that much convincing at all, but they were showing that we can actually create synthetic faces and stuff, I was thinking that there should be some signal in humans, in real people, to trust their authenticity. And at that point, we were doing some like human-related AI approaches, like like training deep networks to predict humans and stuff. And I saw this like phenomenal paper from MIT from Freeman's group about photophotoplethysmography, PPG. So that big word that I need to say every day in my life means that the capture of blood flow from videos and from like from both physically and from remote ways. So photophotoplethysmography looked at the color changes on your skin to find your blood flow, find your heart rate. So FakeCatcher is basically depending on those PPG signals. So when heart pumps blood, it goes to your veins change color, and we capture that color change from everywhere on your face with many, many, many points. And for real videos, it's like you have your heart, right? Like it's like your heart rate. But for fake videos, it's like you have multiple hearts on multiple pixels on your face. It doesn't follow the regular heart rate. It's not correlated in both like spatial domain and in frequency domain and in temporal domain. So you can see that like, those heart monitors, that's a PPG signal for real videos. For fake videos, it's everywhere. It's not like correlated. So to make it a little bit more robust, we actually train a neural network on top of those PPG signals so that we can actually account for compression artifacts, color change artifacts. If there's some occlusion on the face, etc., we can still be robust against those changes. So that's basically FakeCatcher.
Okay, so I'm going to run a little scenario by you, and I'm going to have you interpret if you could. If I understand what you said correctly, the blood flow is something you monitor, and you can tell deepfake through that signal, I'll say. Which, am I right when I would say if you have more blood flow, you have more color in your face, et cetera? And it would be a little bit different at the micro level, deepfake technology can pick that up, correct?
Deepfake, so even if you have very transparent skin and like very apparent blood flow, the current deepfake, even the best deepfake algorithm is focusing on making it more photorealistic. And when we say more photorealistic, because all the training data underlying used to train that model does not know anything about blood flow, the photorealism is pushed towards the beauty standards and more structural consistency, not through biological or physiological consistency. So even if you particularly have very nice blood flow, visible blood flow, deepfakes cannot still replicate that.
Okay. What does somebody do? I don't know if I've seen a deepfake other than watching your videos that I see where you're demonstrating it, talking to yourself on YouTube. What do I do? How do I know that I'm talking to a deepfake, and how do I know which one's the deepfake?
Absolutely great question. So there are so many ways to look for. Everything starts with awareness. So be aware that anything you hear, anything you see online, there is a possibility that they are fake. Okay, so that is the most important thing. The second one is how to differentiate that, right? So there are several ways depending on which technology is used. So one of them, as I said, is biological signals. So biological signal as blood flow is not visible to our eyes. So I cannot say like, look at the blood flow. But there are some signals that you can actually see. For example, the eyes. So the eye and gaze information is not really that realistically captured in deepfake. So focusing on eyes is one. Another one is if it is a multimodal video, that there's the visual information and there's also the audio information or text information, etc. How is that correlation? That correlation is also broken for most of the most used deepfake approaches. For state of the art, there are very nice multimodal generators, but for the ones that scammers still use, the correlation between those modalities are broken. So check whether the mouth movement and the sound is correlating, or when I move my head, like is the voice also changing a little bit according to the microphone, etc. Another thing that is there is always use your reasoning. So we have a study where we compare human deduction, human reasoning versus deepfake detectors in different modalities. And there is actually a very nice complementarity. When it is those low-level signals like blood flow, like voice correlation, like eye gaze correlation, etc., the deepfake detectors are really nice because those are like very apparent signals. But when the deepfakes are very different in terms of context, in terms of foreground background matching, in terms of very high quality but very non non-logical things, in those ones, in those ones, humans are much better at deducing that it's a deep fake or not. So looking at the context, looking at the background, looking at the whether that person should say it there, like there's a very common Trump video where he's reading children's books in front of the flag, and that's probably not possible. Like he wouldn't be doing that, but it's a very high quality deepfake. So, always use your reasoning. So there are many other like specific things that we also look at in deepfakes, and I actually give those trainings all across the world. I think the last one I gave was like a couple of months back in Korea, in Tech Camp. All the Tech Camp family, they are awesome people anyway. Yeah, really from the subject, but like as a US Tech Camp trainer, we actually talk about these issues, trying to be independent of the country, independent of the context, independent of the specific detectors in that country, etc. But there are common things still not replicated, still enabling us humans to trust our eyes.
Okay, so when I was doing some research in my homework and talking with you, I was on YouTube, and you have a excellent video out that's detecting fakes in real time. And I had to watch that probably 3 times and really focus on it to get a picture of you versus your twin, I'll say, that was in the video. And after the 3rd time, I could actually identify, well, I can see where the difference is between the two. But it took me 3 times to really focus on it. Where I'm going with the question is, if we're going to be dependent upon humans to identify those, we're going to lose that battle because it's going to take way too much focus and concentration. So where and when will we see the technology come about that can identify it for us as we are looking at the web or generating chat GPTs or something like that? When and where, and what role are you playing in bringing that about?
So, in my personal opinion, and that was also what we are working on as the research team, is that no technology should 100% decide for us. Their whole purpose should be gather as many signals as possible for us to make that decision. So, deviating the question a little bit towards that, that's why we are building many different deepfake detectors based on different reasonings and different signal types, so that it can give you many different information to make that decision for yourself. So FakeCatcher is one of them, looking at the blood flow. We have an eye gaze based deepfake detection methods that is looking at the consistency of the eyes, the shape, the color, looking at the gaze vectors and intersection of the gaze vectors, like how we can actually understand eyes better. We have multimodal approaches looking at the voice and mouth correlation. We have a motion-based deepfake detector that is looking at the motion consistencies, because I am maybe a too much animated person, so like all the muscles of my face are changing when I'm talking. So my deepfakes may not actually have that like that. Like when that part of my lip is like tucked, maybe my eyebrow is also going up, and that's making a deepfake, etc. So we have that motion-based detector, and that motion-based detector correlated with audio, etc. So that's another detector that we have. So, for example, for some reason, maybe my video is like very low quality, and because of that, FakeCatcher is saying that, well, I don't see any like real signals here. Maybe my eye gaze based detector will say that, well, like the gaze are super correct, 100% this is a real video. Then you will actually use your reasoning and look at that, and yeah, like it's possible that blood flow, I should not trust blood flow fakeness, but I should trust the gaze realness, So where we are in bringing all of these is that like we have all these papers already published and in preparation that we are sharing with the community, and the implementations are also coming, so that everyone can use them in their workflows or in like their authentication flows or in their information gathering resources, etc. So these are also coming up soon.
Mm-hmm. When do you think the reality will be that I can look at my computer and I'll get a warning or something like that to say this person, form, whatever it is a deep fake, or be careful, there's potential here, versus me having to memorize 10 different modalities to look at and say, well, the eyebrow doesn't look right, the lip doesn't look right, because on a day-to-day basis, people are moving too fast. When do you think that'll actually take practical implementation? When will that happen?
That's a great question. I would like to say soon. And there are some like single modality interfaces that you can see around, but not like this like multimodal version. Another perspective on that specific question is actually not about deepfake detection, but about content authenticity. So there are two ways that we approach to this specific problem. One is deepfake detection. So for content that we have no idea about, etc., can we do deepfake detection and find the provenance? That is more like backwards provenance. Then we have forward provenance, which is the content creator itself actually gives all the information about that content during creation, and that information lives with that media, with that content throughout its life. So that provenance tracking is very important. So in we talked about dystopian features, but in a utopian feature, hopefully we don't even need deepfake detection because all the information, all the content comes with provenance information, right? So hopefully one day, I don't know, many years from now, you will just look at the content and know that, okay, it was created by Implementors podcast. It was created with the consent of Ilke and consent of Ted. Like everyone is there. All the information is there. But we are not there yet. So one specific step, one like very universally, hopefully being adopted step is through C2PA. So C2PA is content coalition for content provenance and authenticity. And it's a coalition by many different companies like Adobe, Truepic, BBC, Google, many different players in the industry are a part of C2PA, and they are building all these standards about how a provenance supported digital future looks like. So for audio, video, live stream, 3D, can we actually have one standard that everyone can use in the world? And it's actually being adopted. So if C2PA manifest, which is the provenance information, is there with some image, with some video, and when you upload it to, for example, LinkedIn, you will actually see that this who created it, how it was created, etc. I think Facebook is also Meta is also supporting it right now. That if you upload the content with C2PA to Facebook, you will also see that. Some other platforms are also starting to support them, and it's not about only platforms, of course. So, for example, cameras. Like even when you get one image, there is processing from when the light hits the lens to when it is saved as a digital file. And even between them, like hypothetically, there can be some hijack to change the image or manipulate the image, etc. So the provenance information starts all the way from camera, and then some camera manufacturers actually embed the C2PA information into the metadata of images, etc. So all in all, C2PA, hopefully as a standard, will emerge universally at some point that everyone supports it. So we don't even need deepfake detection maybe many, many years from now.
Mm-hmm. In the race to win between the dark side of AI and the bright side of AI, which one's winning right now, in your opinion?
I don't want to say the dark side, but because because I don't want to change the topic to that part, but because currently people in decision-making power are more influenced by the dark side, I would say dark side is winning just because
it's getting more attention.
Exactly. Just because of the attention, just because people approach the topic in a more uninformed, in a more dooming way. But hopefully, like more experts and more people that actually knows what they are doing, what is being done, what is the state of the art, what is the current research. If they are consulted more, if they are more in decision-making power, then hopefully it will be an equal race between dark and bright sides.
Well, I think your FakeCatcher that you've invented and working on is certainly a step in that direction, and many more of those will be taken, and I'm sure they'll be taken by you. You're very passionate, obviously, about your topic. You love it. You're animated. What got you involved? What led you in this direction of study and career?
Oh, great question. So I fell in love with coding and computers and, making computers do whatever I want during high school. And even though we didn't have coding classes during high school, because I was selected to represent my high school for math Olympiads, math and computer science Olympiads. And because of that, our seniors in the high school was teaching us coding. So that was when I know, like, yes, I want to pursue this, like in my studies. So then I got into computer science, the best university in Turkey, Middle East Technical University. And after that, like everything was like getting even more amazed by machines, the more amazed by robots, the more amazed by like all these image processing, computer vision approaches. And then during my PhD, as I just said, I was working on procedural and parametric models, which is getting any data and creating a language-like representation of that data, mostly 3D, can be 2D. And then from that language-like representation, can we create more derivations of that? And even though that sounds a bit futuristic right now, procedural models have been there for many, many years. The very first L systems was proposed in 1971. Just imagine that. And now generative models are something. Yay!
When you are talking there, a couple words kept coming into my mind: authenticity, ownership of content, all of those types of things. When you look at the technology frontier that lies ahead, what one risk do you believe organizations are under preparing for?
I think approaching all these AI risks as a different category and undermining them as not being real cybersecurity threats are really something that is being undermined right now. So years ago, when we first developed FakeCatcher, we were talking about different companies, and like the reaction was, deepfakes are a niche. Yeah, like out of 1 million videos that we see, maybe 1 or 2 are deepfakes, so we don't need a deepfake detector, etc. Now that landscape has dramatically changed. However, the perspective hasn't changed as much. It's still like, oh yeah, deepfakes can appear, but it's not like deepfakes are as important as being hacked or as important as someone stealing your passport or identity, etc. It is exactly that, because someone that knows and creates a live likeness of you can authenticate your bank, can authenticate to your phone, can authenticate to any system that is using your voice or your likeness. So these threats should be regarded as cybersecurity threats, no different than the current threats that we already have for our digital identity. So that's something that's undermined.
Okay, so when you started answering that question, you were very slow and deliberate in what you were saying. And what I read and what I heard was people have to take this seriously, and perhaps they're not focusing enough on it. How does somebody begin to do that? I own a business, I'm responsible for people. Change is just incredible of what the business and our employees need to go through. How do I make time? What do I focus on to say, I have to start taking all this cybersecurity and all the things that get implicated with that? How do I take it seriously? And what steps do I actually use or take to implement and make my business and everybody here a little safer and more secure?
As I said first is awareness. So even in your company, even in your corporate environment, it can be infiltrated with deepfakes. So just make everyone aware that whatever you see or hear digitally uh, can be fake.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, how you implement is that, there are several solutions that are either open source or like implemented by different companies. FakeCatcher, like you can implement FakeCatcher or you can talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Or like other deepfake detection approaches. And it also depends on your specific domain, like deepfakes are everywhere, and I'm not saying it as a cliche, but they are literally everywhere in media and entertainment. It's a different issue. In news, for journalists, it's a different issue. For banks, for authentication, it's a different issue. For voice-only services, or for video services, or for image services, it's a different issue. So finding the specific type of threats, categorizing those threats, and taking actions and finding detectors specific to those are a really good way to implement them. And there are so many deepfake detectors. It's also important to look at the benchmarks and look at the comparisons of those. So if it is evaluated on a super old data set that has been there for forever and it has really good accuracy on that data set versus it is actually trained and evaluated on like a very new data set with all the new stable diffusion or Huiyan models or etc. That's also important. So it's not that just the modality matters, the evaluation and benchmark also matters for deepfake detection. And if you're a company that is related with content firsthand, go check out C2PA, try to implement C2PA or at least adopt C2PA or at least join C2PA to be a part of the conversation so that you can actually bring that provenance information. Because for all of the platforms and companies in future, this will be an invaluable feature to show provenance of your data, show provenance of your content, provenance of the media. And if you do C2PA, if you implement and adopt C2PA, that comes almost automatically. That comes like at no cost. You don't need to build new systems or new standards or new things to track provenance, the data provenance, content provenance. It's just you need to adopt it, right? So if you're a content related company, I would also say that being a part of C2PA is it will be life changing and platform changing and probably revenue changing in the future.
Okay. So could you pronounce and again mention the C2PA, I believe you mentioned?
Yes.
What exactly is that in detail?
Yeah, C2PA is Coalition for Content Provenance and
Okay,
Authenticity.
good.
And that's the coalition that many companies came together to bring these standards for provenance. It's a Linux Foundation project, so it is supported by Linux Foundation. And if you look at c2pa.org, you will see all the manifests, all the subgroups, what is being done for provenance. It's not just the manifest. There are many different task force that all those experts are working on. I'm a part of C2PA. For example, how we can incorporate watermarking and fingerprinting as a part of content provenance, as a part of C2PA. For example, threats and harms. How can C2PA manifest, or those standards can be hacked or manipulated or edited, and what are the threats and how we can actually overcome those threats. That's another subgroup. Different modalities like audio, live stream, etc. These are all part of C2PA working groups, etc. So again, like check out C2PA and see how it is related to your company, your content, and try to be a part of it.
Okay. So the first thing you said was become aware. Second thing is just do what you're doing in every other function in the business. Do research, get involved with associations, talk to people, ask what they're doing. I'm going to assume whether it's a big company or small company, you're at equal risk. Is that correct?
Yes. And, if you're a small company, I think you are in a bigger risk, because if you are the CEO of that super big company, people have a little bit more precaution about any content that they see about you to be fake. I will give an example from Pat, the old CEO of ex-CEO of Intel, right? If you see a video of Pat, you may say, "Oh, maybe that is a deep fake." Like he's a very famous person, he has videos everywhere. It can be a fake. But if you are an unknown, maybe less important CEO of a startup, then people don't have that concept that you may be faked already. And that puts your credibility, your reputation, your fame, your responsibility more in risk than being the potential attack of a deepfake.
So it's a part of life. It's a business. It's part of business life now. People just have to get their mindset to say, I've got to investigate and look into this, because if not, I'll be one of those people that unknowingly gets deepfaked, hacked, whatever you want to say. Okay. What's the future look like for you, Ilke? What do you see the future being for you?
The future is bright. Full circle of the podcast, right? Hopefully, bright side of the AI will continue. So our research and responsible AI approaches are full-fledged going. And that's not only deepfake detection, that's also content protection, right? Like, as I said, we have My Face, My Choice. We have My Art, My Choice, which is a defense against generative AI approaches. Like how can we protect and encapsulate a content from its creation, so that when you ask to stable diffusion about create me an image in the style of Ilke, it will not, because it is already protected. My content is already protected, so everything coming out is that. We have My Voice, My Choice. Can we actually protect my voice so that it cannot be used in those voice converters or singing voice conversion methods, etc. So these protection methods and these detection methods going hand in hand is what I will be building towards future.
Okay, very good. If somebody wants to talk to you personally, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, you can find me through LinkedIn, Ilke Demir. You can go to my website. There are many contact methods there. ilkedemir.github.io. Those are the two ways.
Okay. What I would say after doing my homework in preparation for this conversation, anybody that is interested in FakeCatcher, I highly recommend doing a little research, YouTube and things, and looking at it, because in minutes you will get the entire deepfake conversation that's going on, and I think it's a tremendous way that you're communicating it in that manner.
Thank you. Maybe credits due a little bit. So the deepfake in that video is created by Pinscreen, which is a great video creation and like digital twin company by my great friend Hao. So yeah, kudos to Pinscreen for deepfaking me as best as possible.
Good. Well, thank you for your time. Love the conversation and look forward to see where you go in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast, and great conversation.
Very good. Thank you. Ted Wolf here. I want to thank you for joining us for this Implementors video. The Implementors podcast is presented by Guidewise, where we, along with our vetted member community, recognize that ideas are easy, but implementation is hard. To learn more about getting things done with Guidewise, please visit us at guidewise.io. And to conquer your implementation struggles, please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. Happy implementing.